On July 5, 1982, at Groom Lake, Nevada, a facility that officially didn't exist, a whale flew. It had no business being in the sky. Shaped like a bar of soap, nearly 56 feet long, it rose into the desert dawn and vanished from every radar screen in the region. 14 years passed, and the United States Air Force made sure nobody would ever hear the full story. Until now. This is the story of Tacit Blue, the aircraft its own crews called the Whale. It's a story about the most radical rethinking of aerial warfare in modern history, about engineers who broke every rule of aerodynamics to make a plane invisible, and about the moment when everything the world knew about stealth changed forever. Parts of this story were declassified just 28 years ago. Other parts? You won't find them in any official record. Let me show you what really happened. The Cold War was strangling Europe in a slow, invisible grip. Soviet armored divisions, over 40,000 tanks massed along the Iron Curtain, could flood through NATO defensive lines within hours. The Pentagon needed something extraordinary, an aircraft that could surveil the entire forward edge of the battlefield, track every Soviet vehicle in real time, and never, not once, be detected. The mission was codenamed Tacit Blue. The aircraft that would carry it out was unlike anything ever built. The Northrop demonstrator, designated simply the Whale by the men who flew it, measured 55.6 feet in length with a 48.2-foot wingspan. It was powered by two Garrett ATF-3-68 turbofan engines, generating 5,000 pounds of thrust each. It could fly at 300 knots, cruise at 40,000 feet, and carry a battlefield surveillance radar so sophisticated it could track individual vehicles in moving columns. There was only one in existence. The first man to fly it was Northrop Chief Test Pilot Russ Scott, a decorated experimental aviator with thousands of hours in classified programs. His mission: prove that a curved surface, low observable aircraft could operate undetected over a live, radar-dense battlefield. Nobody knew it at the time, but this single improbable prototype, this whale of a machine born in a desert that didn't officially exist, would lay the technical foundation for the most feared aircraft ever built. The decisions made over the next 3 years would reshape the entire future of air power. 0612 hours. July 5th, 1982, Groom Lake, Nevada. The air temperature was already climbing toward 98 degrees Fahrenheit. Russ Scott strapped into a cockpit that looked, as one engineer later recalled, like something a child drew with a crayon. No sharp edges, no vertical tail fins. Every surface curved, mathematically calculated to scatter radar energy into empty sky. The Whale lifted off. For the first 40 seconds, the program's own monitoring radar tracked it normally. Then, at 0613:14, it vanished from the scope. Not because it crashed, because it worked. For the first 18 months, the test program ran without catastrophic incident. But pilots described handling qualities that were, at best, unsettling. The aircraft was aerodynamically unstable by design. It required a fly-by-wire system just to remain controllable. One test pilot described it as flying like a refrigerator box in a crosswind. Then, on a routine test sortie in late 1983, a hydraulic anomaly caused a partial flight control failure at altitude. Radio traffic captured in that moment. Tacit, we've got left elevon response degraded. Cycling now, not recovering. The pilot executed a textbook emergency descent, but within 4 critical minutes, secondary systems began to cascade. He had 2 options: eject over classified terrain and risk the aircraft, the program, and 14 years of stealth research falling into the open desert, or land a barely controllable aircraft on a restricted runway at Groom Lake. He chose to land. The Whale touched down hard, gear intact, airframe stressed, but intact. 13 seconds after touchdown, it stopped. No fire, no fatalities, but the incident triggered a complete program review, and certain conclusions from that review were immediately, permanently classified. 0 fatalities. Across 135 test flights and over 250 total flight hours between 1982 and 1985, the Tacit Blue program produced no loss of life. By the brutal metrics of classified experimental aviation, that is almost miraculous. But the story that followed the program's quiet closure was anything but clean. The official account held that Tacit Blue was retired in 1985 because it had achieved its stated objective, proving low observable curved surface technology was viable at operational scale. Documents quietly surfaced during the aircraft's public unveiling in April 1996 told a fuller, and more troubling, story. The aircraft had also demonstrated that the Pentagon's own existing radar warning infrastructure was functionally blind to this class of stealth. That finding, and its implications for penetrating enemy air defenses, remained classified for over a decade after the program ended. Northrop's engineers knew the full scope of what they had proven. The Air Force knew, but acknowledging it publicly meant acknowledging the vulnerability. It would take another decade of Cold War maneuvering before any corner of that picture was released. Personnel who signed lifetime NDAs have never received full disclosure. Certain avionics specifications from the Tacit Blue program remain classified to this day, and here's what still doesn't make sense. Tacit Blue was declassified in 1996. The aircraft now sits in public view at the National Museum of the United States Air Force at Wright-Patterson AFB, Ohio. Visitors walk around it, children photograph it, and yet the specific radar cross-section measurements, the actual figures that proved curved surface stealth worked, remain completely redacted in every document ever released. Not partially, completely. Was it because the technology was still active in systems flying combat missions through the 1990s? Was it because those RCS numbers would expose the B-2 Spirit's true stealth signature, the bomber those same Northrop engineers built immediately after? Or was it something darker, evidence that the surveillance capability demonstrated over Groom Lake was tested in ways that no congressional oversight committee ever formally reviewed? What we do know is this: Tacit Blue proved that a nation willing to spend enough, classify enough, and trust a small enough team of engineers could make something invisible. And that lesson didn't stay in the Nevada desert. It spread into every stealth program that followed, every low observable drone, every terrain-following cruise missile, every B-21 Raider flying today. The same philosophy is operating over active combat zones right now. The engineers of Tacit Blue deserve better than 30 years of silence. The families deserve the truth, and history deserves to remember the whale that taught the world to disappear. There are more stories like this. Stories the Air Force hoped would stay buried in Nevada desert forever. I'm releasing one next week about the Oxcart program, the CIA's Mach 3 spy plane that flew so high and so fast it nearly started a war. And let me tell you, it makes Tacit Blue look like a press release. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Drop a comment with what topic you want me to cover next. And to the brave men and women in uniform watching this, thank you for keeping secrets the rest of us will never fully know. I'll see you in the next one.